Okay, it's been a great honor to stand up here today before such company. Some of the greatest coaches around the world here today. And with FINA asking me to come and present here to talk about Chad le Clos winning the 200 meters butterfly gold medal at the London Olympics. As the gentleman said, I've been coaching for 24 years. I've been to 4 Olympic Games. Something quite ironic there, I share 4 Olympic Games with Michael Phelps. So there's a bit of a parallel there. I coached Terence Parkin to a silver medal in Sydney 2000. I know on your programs there, it's got me coaching Taiwan Park from Korea to a silver medal in the 200 breaststroke. So I'm quite honored to have that result as well. I coached a swimmer on the relay team for the gold medal in Athens. We won the 4x100 freestyle relay. I had 2 swimmers in Beijing, and then of course the 5 swimmers in London, and one of them obviously being Chad le Clos, who won a gold and a silver medal in the butterfly events. When I first started coaching, I started out with a small group, just 10 swimmers, juniors, and worked my way through the club ranks, moving up to take over the club coach, and then moving on to being part of the national team. I've been a member of the national team on the coaching staff since 1997. So a lot of you here have seen my face around at Mount Nostrums and World Cups and Olympics and all the major events. I've been coaching Chad for 12 years, a real long time. I've watched him grow from an 8-year-old boy. And it hasn't been an easy road. I've been hands-on with him, managing everything in his life, so to speak. And I think my talk today is going to be a lot about not so much the programs we did and things like that, but just the human nature side of the whole experience that we went through, and the vision and the passion that both of us had to winning an Olympic gold medal. As I said, it's been 12 years. I remember him coming as a little 8-year-old boy, and you know, he showed a little bit of promise. His father, very well known to some of you now, Bert, the Cookie Monster as they called him in London. But I remember him arriving on the pool deck and saying, "My son's a champion. One day he'll be a champion." And you know, as coaches, you all go, yes. The parents always come to you and say, "One day your son will be the champion." And you put them in the squads, and you start working with them. With Chad, we didn't start too extensive swimming with him until he was 14 years old, and that's the honest truth. Some people may think, "Oh, it's not possible," but he didn't really step up to anything more than 5 sessions a week until he was 14. So we kept him just training with the junior squad. He was showing a lot of promise. He was really good. And believe it or not, he was a breaststroker. He wasn't really a butterfly swimmer. Okay, and unfortunately, when he was 15, going on 16, he had an injury. He had a groin injury. And due to his soccer, he claims to be the greatest footballer in the world. But I think he must just leave that with the PlayStation, because it's not really good when he comes to football, but he believes he is. But he injured his groin, and that was the end of the breaststroke for a long, long time. But I'll talk about that later on. The 18 months, I've been asked to talk about the 18 months before London, and quite interesting. I spoke to some of the coaches, and they asked me, you raced a lot, and was brought up now about the racing, how many times the Roman races his swimmer before the Olympics in the 50 freestyle. The 18 months before London, we did race a lot. For those of you who can remember, we raced all the World Cups last year, every single one. We didn't miss out on any. And people asked me why I was racing the World Cups. Aren't you preparing for London? But we were preparing for London. That was the whole thing. I realized, you know, if you wanted to do anything against the greatest swimmers in the world, Ryan Lochte, Michael Phelps, their biggest assets are the underwater work, their butterfly kick underwater. And Chad is good at underwaters, but we needed to get better, because up against those two guys in those events, there wasn't any better way to improve it than going on the World Cups and doing so many races and practicing underwaters. And I think you all saw how good he really became at underwater work when he raced those World Cups. The plan before London, we actually planned something in 2011 before Shanghai World Championships. The plan was, we always come to the Mare Nostrum, we race the Mare Nostrum, we love coming to Europe. It's summer here and it's winter back home. Our facilities back home are not really good for us in winter. So we love to come to Europe and race the Mare Nostrum. And we knew we would have a long time away from home in 2012 before the Olympics. So we planned to come to race the Mare Nostrum, stay on for a couple of weeks training camp, pick a venue that we were going to use in 2012. And we picked a training venue called Pescara, just outside of Rome on the coast of Italy there. Really beautiful place, and we believed that was the best place for us to go prepare before London. So we went there in 2011, and we had a small training camp there. We then flew home, stayed a couple of days at home, and then went on to our training camp in Singapore before we went to Shanghai. But the whole idea behind the traveling and the camps were to get the team used to being away from home, because we had planned in 2012 to leave and not go back before the Olympics. We wanted to stay away from South Africa, stay away from the winter, and base ourselves in Europe. So we were looking at about a 3-month trip before London. We would be away from home for 3 months. I think it was a great move that we did this in 2011. We could see whether our top swimmers, or all our swimmers in that fact, would be able to cope with being away from home so long and undergo the training that we put them through. Obviously this worked really well for Chad. He didn't quite win a medal in Shanghai like we had hoped, but he was up there and finished a credible 5th there in the 200 butterfly. Then 2012 came along, and obviously it was the year that we were going to prepare for Olympic Games, and you know, we put the plan in place. We did our trials in April, and then we moved on to Europe. We left home on the 27th of May for Europe, and we had some really exciting times. We had a bit of help along the way. You know, it's quite expensive being away from home for 3 months. Like I said, our Olympic committee helped us. Without that, it couldn't have happened. And then obviously Princess Charlene of Monaco helped us out with our camp in Monaco prior to going into the Olympics. So our basic setup before we went into London was that we would swim the 3 legs of the Mare Nostrum, then move on to the Seticali event in Rome, and then we'd move over to Pescara. And that's where we did a big block of training there. We did 3 weeks in Pescara. Never saw one drop of rain for 3 weeks. Temperature was about 38 degrees every day. And we had to actually shift our training times. The mornings were too warm for us. Mid-morning sessions, 10 to 12, was just killing us. So we had to shift our training schedule to be training at 5:30 in the mornings, because it was just, the heat was killing us there. But we made do with that. And then obviously after Pescara, the 3 weeks in Pescara, it worked out quite well, because at that time the US were doing their Olympic trials, so it kind of kept the kids' attention away from the work we were doing. They were always online checking the US results, so that kind of helped a little bit of distraction away from the hard work we were doing in Pescara. And then obviously those last 2 weeks prior to going into the games, we had a beautiful training camp, and were treated like royalty in Monaco, thanks to Princess Charlene and Prince Albert. Obviously, Princess Charlene I used to coach, and coached her to Sydney Olympics, so it was really a great help on her side, and understanding the sport and being an Olympian herself, she understood the needs of our athletes and took real good care of us. And it was quite interesting. Right before we were about to leave for London, they had arranged for us to watch the Usain Bolt movie that hadn't been released yet. and that was quite an inspirational and motivational movie about Usain Bolt's life. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I really recommend that you get hold of that movie and have a look at that. It's quite interesting, showing how he's still training in Jamaica and training on the grass fields, nothing fancy. And it kind of related to our South African team, back home, no fancy stadiums and that. We only have one indoor heated 50-meter pool in the whole country. So it was quite interesting and quite a good parallel and some inspiration for our swimmers to see this movie just before we left for London. So all this was working great for Chad. Obviously, he's not an easy cookie to coach. He had big dreams, and obviously I'll talk about that and his passion a little later on. But when a kid comes to you after the Beijing Olympics, and you've just watched Michael Phelps win 8 gold medals, and he says, "I want to beat Michael Phelps," it's quite a big job ahead of you. But the one thing I want to express, and I want you to understand this, is that that's what it's all about. In this game that we do, there are no secrets, there's no special programs or anything. Well, I certainly don't believe there is. I think we all more or less do the same things. But I think it's the connection between the swimmer and the coach, and the passion and the drive and the belief they all have in moving forward and reaching their dream. I've got there that some of the dry land work worked for him and some didn't. Chad, for those of you who have seen him or know him, he's got terribly flat feet. Hence, that's why he can't play football. He can't run. Okay, so his feet are really flat, and a lot of the dry land work, I like to run a lot. Like in Marseille, they like to bike a lot. We like to run a lot. And obviously he couldn't do this kind of work, so he had to sit on a stationary bike and bike while the rest of the team were running. He's also very fortunate that his mother comes from a ballet background, okay, and believe it or not, he doesn't like to talk too much about this because he gets teased about it. But on the quiet, his mother takes him for ballet classes, but more the stretching side of it. And I think that's great, and it works really well for him to keep him real flexible and in shape for his swimming. The injuries. Chad's had a major problem with injuries, as I said earlier. He was a breaststroker. At the age of 15, he swam a 2:16, 200 breaststroke long course without a suit. So he was a really good breaststroker, and he sustained that injury with playing games with the football, and it's never really been the same. It only really started to recover and get it right around about, call it April, round about our trials time. He was able to swim breaststroke properly. So all this time, Commonwealth Games 2010, the Youth Olympics, even the World Cups where he was winning on the World Cups, we were swimming breaststroke with an injury. So he was compensating his kick. He wasn't getting the full value out of his kick, and he was still able to perform at the highest level in the medleys. And I still believe that we can see a lot out of him in the medleys. I would really like to see him have a full go at medleys once the breaststroke is sorted out, and we can have a full cycle of training breaststroke and see what he can do in the medleys. His training program shifted after he left school. He left school in 2010. And by that, what I meant was, he didn't have to come to the pool at 5 in the morning before school, like the others that are still at school back home. He could come to practice at 6:30 or 7, depending on the days. So we shifted his training schedule so that in the mornings he could get more sleep and have better recovery time, so that he could prepare better on his training. Training Chad is a challenge in itself, and you have to challenge him. He's that kind of competitor. You have to put things out there for him. You have to challenge him with times, and obviously him wanting to beat Michael Phelps was the biggest challenge of all. So to throw Michael Phelps' name at him every now and again in training would help a lot, and drive him on to work even harder in the sessions. and to show him videos of Ryan Lochte, the way Ryan Lochte got some videos out there of his training and what he's doing and that, using all this to drive him, to drive the passion, to drive the belief that he can beat these guys. You need to explain the purpose of the sessions to him. Why is he doing it? What's he doing it for? He's that kind of swimmer. You can't just tell him he's doing 8 100s and he must just go and do this and this. He wants to know why he's got to do that and why he's got to do that. So that's the kind of athlete Chad is, and a competitive one. The one big thing, and I'm sure most of the athletes that have won the gold medals at the Olympics, I'm sure you coaches are going to talk about it for the next 2 days. They love to win. They all love to win. And that's no different to Chad. He loves to win. The regular communication with him, that's no joke. Chad is basically a little bit more than just a swimmer of mine. As I said, I've coached him for 12 years. They're family friends. I knew his father and his mother before they brought him to swim with me. So it goes back longer than just 12 years, but obviously coaching Chad for 12 years. And the communication is everything between Chad and I. There isn't a day that goes by that we won't talk to each other 2 or 3 times without even being at the pool. For some of you, you may think, it's a bit much and it's a bit too intense and all that, but it's not a kind of coach-athlete talk. It's more like a friend talk or a fatherly figure talking to his son. It's talking about other things. And it's actually got more and more as he's got older. He's a young man now. He's not the young teenage boy anymore, so there's a lot more interesting things he likes to talk about now. And we have this regular communication all the time. And I think, once again, like I said earlier, it's got a lot to do with the bond between the athlete and the coach. And I think that typifies it right there. One thing we did do when he did finish school is we got a lot of regular rest and recovery with Chad. Before, obviously, being at school, it was a problem to get to the massage so that he could relax a little bit and recover. And with the school program, it's kind of difficult. They're going to school at 7:30 until 3:30 in the afternoon, so it's kind of difficult to get any rest or recovery in there. Once school is over, he definitely does take his naps every day. He normally likes to have lunch and then have a nap before he comes to practice in the afternoon. So he gets his regular rest and he has his massages at least twice a week. So he's getting a good recovery. The minimizing of the distractions, some of you may laugh about this and some of you won't believe what I'm about to tell you, but in this day and age of the high-tech phones and Twitter and all that, Chad is not allowed to have that, okay? He's compulsive with his phone, okay? When we have our communication, if he calls me or whatever, he calls me from his dad's cell phone, okay? Or I'll call him on his dad's cell phone. The reason being is, if he has a cell phone, what we found was he was sitting up until all hours of the night tweeting and Facebooking and all the other things that are out there. And I can see some of you smiling here. Even on pool deck, I was watching in London. Some of the athletes had phones on pool deck and all that. It's crazy. And I just took a stand that he would not have a cell phone. So this is a 20-year-old guy that's an Olympic gold medalist. The rule still stands today, even after winning the gold medal. So Chad will get his phone on Saturday morning after practice, around about 11 o'clock. And then he hands his phone back in at 7 o'clock on Sunday evening. So he's allowed his phone on the weekends, but during the week, the phone is a no-go. My philosophy in the days of our training, I honestly believe that what you put into your training is what you'll get out, especially in events that well, not only in events that Chad swims, but if you're not going to go to training and get something out of it and do the work that's needed to be done, what's programmed for the day, I basically tell them, look, don't even bother to get in, just rather go home, And Chad isn't one of those guys that is like that. I'll tell you a story. I know Roman likes to hear this story about when we were in Pescara, 3 weeks out from the Olympics. We were doing a really big session the last Saturday of the camp, and it's one of Chad's favorite programs, and we'll go through it later on. But it goes something like a warm-up of about 1,500 meters, and then he likes to do a long warm-up, by the way. Chad doesn't like these 200-meter warm-ups. He can't do that. He needs a nice good warm-up. And then we'll go a set something like 16 100s fly, then you'll go 4 200s back, 4 200s breast, then 4 400s free. Okay? And in that set, he needed to hold, on the flies, he needed to hold 1 minute or 101s. On the backstrokes, one easy, one hard. You'd have to go the hard backstrokes around about 206, 207. And then the breaststrokes between 225 and 230 on the hard ones. And the 4 400s, you need to be under 410 on all 4 400s. Okay? And when we were in Pescara, we took training partners along with us. That was one of the things we did do as a national team. We had Cameron van der Berg. He needed a training partner there with him, so we took one of our breaststrokers. Not that breaststroker is in the league of Cameron, but just to help him get through some of the sets. And then we took Chad's own clubmate, Miles Brown, who's a pretty good distance swimmer and one that can do some sets with Chad. So they were going through this set in Pescara. It was the last day, and they hit all the times right up until the 4 400s. And then they couldn't get under 415. They were going between 415 and 420. And I was kind of happy with where we were. I realized that we had done some good work, and it was time for us to probably back off a little bit now and move on to Monaco and start to taper and prepare ourselves for London. And but I didn't want them to know that I was being soft and and just letting them off the hook with not making the times. So I basically told them they must start the set again. And they started the set again, and they started to do the flies, and we got to about number 10 or 11 on the fly, and it just started deteriorating. The set just started going pear-shaped, and I knew they weren't going to get through the back, the breast, and the free was going to be a disaster again. So I ranted and raved, and I said, get out the pool. This was on a Saturday morning. We were leaving for Monaco the next day. I said, out the pool. I'll see you at lunch. But you guys didn't do the job today, and make sure you get back on Monday into the pool, and we're ready to go. And I left it at that, and we went to lunch that day, and I'm just trying to tell you what kind of a guy Chad is, and about putting in and getting out of the session. At lunch, the guys that were doing the session with him, they were sitting there, a little bit of a sulk on their face, long lip, and Chad talking and carrying on as if nothing was any different, and he leant over to me and he said, Coach, we can go back to the pool this afternoon and do the sets again. So that's just the kind of person he is and the kind of athlete he is. He was prepared to go back there and do it all over again. Like I say there, it's got there. If you can't do it in training, you will not. It will not happen in the race. I like to, and Roman spoke earlier about it, how he likes to have his sprinters pretty close to their times. Well, I've adopted that attitude with Chad in the long day events as well. I like for him to swim pretty close to his times in training. Believe it or not, Chad has only really shaved about 3 times in his whole career. Okay. Not to brag or anything, but he's swum a lot of major competitions. He hasn't even shaved. Olympics was one, and then I think he shaved at 2 other competitions. So he doesn't really like to shave unless it's a really, really big event. And that's why I think he's able to swim on his times so consistently throughout his training, whatever phase we're in, whether we're doing some hard work or we're having some rest or whatever. So he's pretty good at swimming right on his times the whole time. A lot of people ask on those World Cups, how did he keep going like that? He can do that. I'm not saying all my athletes can do that. He's just different, and he can do that. He can swim on his times pretty much any time of the week, any day of the week. We just have a basic program. There's nothing special. Like I said, it's nine sessions a week. On Tuesday afternoons we have a main set, and Saturday mornings we have a main set like one of the sets I've just spoken to you about. And then obviously a Thursday afternoon we have a recovery where we don't really do too much. One of the key training sets, that's the set I spoke to you about. That's the set where I wanted him to start again. The 16-100s fly, it's on a 130 send-off. The 400s back is on 245, the breasts are on 3 minutes, and the 400 free is on 445. This is another set, and I think my Hungarian friend over here will notice this set a little bit. We're very fortunate. For the last 5 or 6 years, the Hungarian national team has been out to train in South Africa at our specific pool. And so we've had the likes of Laszlo Shea there, we've had all the top Hungarians training there, and it's really helped us, and it's helped me in the way I think and do a lot of my work. Some great coaches in, they've worked with some great swimmers. But more importantly, we've mixed up our training sessions. So Chad has had the privilege of training alongside Laszlo Shea, who we all know was 3-time silver medalist in Beijing. And so it was quite interesting to see the progression of Chad every year when the Hungarian team came to train. When they first arrived before Beijing, Chad he wasn't really allowed to train with the Hungarian team because he wasn't really that good. And we had Laszlo Shea, who was one of the top swimmers in the world, training, and so we just asked if he could do 1 or 2 sessions in the 3 weeks they were there, just to see what it was like with the Hungarian team. And then as the years progressed, obviously Chad progressed, and it got to a stage where this last year before the Olympics, the Hungarian team come in two waves. They come with 2 teams, and it's quite fortunate for us. In the one group, we have David Verrazzo, who's also an accomplished 400 IM swimmer, and in the other group we have Laszlo Shea. So there's 2 big workhorses in those squads, and to match Chad up with them. So Chad was getting the best of both worlds there. Maybe I shouldn't be telling this to the Hungarian team, but he was getting the best of both worlds. So he was getting a good 6 weeks of work there with 2 of the biggest workers in the game, as far as I'm concerned. Those Hungarians can really work, and it's really interesting to watch them work and their work ethic of how they go about it. So I pay a lot of tribute to working with the Hungarian national team, and I think it helped Chad a lot. Remember, we were preparing to swim the medleys as well. So, I'm talking a lot about things that are not related. Well, they are related to the butterfly, but all our training was based a lot around the medley swimming, and I think in a way I think it's quite good. I mean, varying the strokes and not working just with butterfly all the time. I think it prevents a lot of injuries along the way as well. Right, very famous photo. For those of you who were there, I'm sure you saw it. But these points here is really the core of the talk today, and this is what I believe made it all happen. First of all, the trust. When I talk about the trust, there was a trust between myself and Chad's family. Okay, very important. I don't know how it is around the rest of the world, but obviously families play a huge part in South Africa, especially in those early years before the swimmers get access to a vehicle. We don't have public transport like most other countries. Well, we do, but it's not good public transport like tube stations and things like that. So we rely heavily on the parents to bring the swimmers to the pool, and when you think about it, a parent's life basically changes as soon as their kid is at this level. I mean, they have to bring their kid to training at like 5 in the morning, so it's really crazy. And then obviously after school they've got to get their kid there as well for training. So excuse me, the trust between myself, Chad, and the parents was unbelievable. But like I said before, we are family friends, and the trust they had in me to take their son further to possibly win a gold medal, that was really important. I mean, the offers were coming thick and fast, as you can well imagine, from the US. Every university was looking for Chad after 2010, the Youth Olympics. He showed he could deliver on a big stage, and they trusted me to run with the program and to possibly win a medal at the Olympics. The passion and the belief go together. I don't think I can even explain how much passion this boy has, or how much passion he had and belief he had that he could beat Michael Phelps. And when I talk about this, it's no disrespect to Michael Phelps or to Bob Bowman. And I would just like to take this opportunity to thank Michael Phelps and Bob Bowman, because without you two, there wouldn't be a Chad le Clos. This boy was obsessed about beating Michael Phelps, and the belief he had in about beating Michael Phelps, he instilled that in me. I learned from him that this is possible. I've never seen an athlete in the 4 Olympics I've been to. I've never seen an athlete have this belief and have this passion about wanting to beat Michael Phelps. And I tell a joke about it, that I honestly believe if Michael Phelps finished 5th and Chad le Clos finished 4th, Chad le Clos would have been the happiest guy in the world. I honestly believe that. He just wanted to beat Michael Phelps. That's all it was. And the belief that he had in beating Michael Phelps, and he instilled that belief in me and the passion in me, and that was important, because obviously both of you have to have it. How many coaches here? We have an athlete that you maybe believe in, and you see he's got all the talent in that, but that athlete won't have the belief in himself, or won't have the passion in himself, and he'll just want to get by, but he doesn't want to do that extra to win an Olympic gold medal. And I think that was the difference between Chad and the rest of the guys on the team, the passion and the belief. And when he came to me and he said, I want to beat Michael Phelps, I'll do anything it takes, whatever you give me to do, I want to beat Michael Phelps. And he had me believing it. And what we did was, with the team, I'll talk about the team there, what I did was I picked a team around us that had the same belief and the same passion. So obviously the right physio, the right manager to manage everything. Obviously you can't pick your family, but the family believed in it as well. And everyone that was surrounded around us was positive and had the passion and the belief that we could go to London, and not to sound that I'm bragging or anything, we honestly believe we could win a gold medal in the 200 butterfly, and we'd pick up some other medals, possibly a medley and obviously 100 butterfly. So we were on our own little mission. The rest of the world were talking about Ryan Lochte and Michael Phelps, and the big showdown between those two. But quietly, us little South African team there had our own little vision of the showdown between Chad le Clos and Michael Phelps. And this is when I come to one of the stories, how it was basically destiny what happened in London. Everything, like I said, everyone was talking about. Have I got time still? Yeah. Everyone was talking about the Ryan Lochte, Michael Phelps showdown. And like I said, we had our own little circle and our own little family talking about, can Chad beat Michael Phelps in the 200 butterfly? And we arrived in London, and in the village, South Africa were in the one apartment block, and the USA were in the apartment block next to us. We could look right into their rooms. Okay, so they were right next to us. So straight away the whole destiny thing was starting to occur. We get to the pool and the massage tables. We had South Africa here. On one side we had the Russian team, on the other side we had the Hungarian team, and right opposite us we had Michael Phelps. So when Chad le Clos lay on the massage table and Michael Phelps lay on the massage table, they could basically look at one another. Then we went to where the ice baths were. And where the ice baths were, when Chad le Clos sat in the ice bath and Michael Phelps sat in the ice bath, they were next to one another, right next door. So for me, I'm quite a superstitious guy. Things started to tick over. But then one really huge thing happened that you just can't write about this, you can't make a movie about it. In 2010, in Dubai at the World Short Course Championships, the first event Chad le Clos swam, he came 5th in the 400 meters individual medley. 3 days later, he swam the 200 meters butterfly. He was in lane number 5. In lane number 6 was the world record holder, Alcaida from Brazil. He beat him by 0.05 of a second. 2 years later in London, The first event, Chad le Clos swam, 400 medley, he came 5th. 3 days later, he swam the 200 meters butterfly. In lane 5 was Chad le Clos. In lane 6 was the world record holder, Michael Phelps. He beat him by 0.05 of a second. So, you know, we were watching all this unfold, and it just had to happen. And, you know, I was speaking to coaches about it, and then they're just amazed at how all that just fell into place. But going back to that belief and that passion and the hard work and dedication, that's basically what it took, and that's what got us there. You know, there's no, like I say, there's no secrets. I think we all do the same work. We have to have the athlete, as Roman said earlier. I've been blessed with an athlete like Chad. He has a phenomenal work ethic, and I believe you need the talent and you need to be able to work, and obviously you need the belief and the passion to get there. And I'll never forget, I think I was more nervous coming up here before the talk than before the 200 meters butterfly final. You know, I remember Chad saying to me before the final, he said, I'm not nervous. I said, I know you're not nervous. You've done the work. You're ready to do this. So he said, this was right before he goes into the call room. He said to me, are there any last words before I go inside? And I just reminded him of his dream and his belief. I said to him, you want to beat Michael Phelps, this is the last time you got a chance to beat Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps will retire after this Olympics. You will not have another chance to beat Michael Phelps in the 200 butterfly. And he said to me after the race, that was one of the things he was thinking about on the last turn. We all knew that we had to match Michael on the underwaters, and on the last turn, normally he blows the rest of the field away, and underwater, Chad just kept remembering that this is his last chance to beat Michael Phelps, and he hung in there, and it finished the way it did. It's all about the passion and the belief.
I will do the first question, please. How you manage, for example, in the World Cup period, when there are approximately 2 or 3 races a week, for your weekly period of 9 times a week, you consider the race a session?
Okay, and possibly I should have spoken about this when we were on the Mar Nostrum as well. What I like to do when we're racing the World Cups and the Mar Nostrum, we'd do a lot of aerobic work in between. So we wouldn't do anything hard, but we'd go down to the pool in the morning in the heats, and we'd most probably do 3.5, 4 Ks of swimming. Then he'd race the heats. And then if he made it through to the final, which he often did, he didn't really have to do a big swim after the heats. He'd just do a swim down. But then he'd do a normal race warm-up for the evening. But then after the session in the evening, he'd do 5 to 6 Ks of swimming again, just to maintain our level of mileage and keep it up there.
Доброе утро. Получается, практически с детства Чед поставил себе цель победить Майкла Фелпса. Он достиг своей цели. Что дальше у Чеда?
Yes, a lot of people have asked me, you know, now that he's beaten Michael Phelps, what will drive him, what will the passion be? But he's beaten Michael Phelps in the 200 butterfly. Michael Phelps has left many gold medals behind. And his next big passion, his belief is that he can win multiple gold medals.
Так, можно еще вопрос один? Он тренируется один или в компании еще со спортсменами?
Okay, yeah, he trained with other swimmers. We have about 14, 15 swimmers that train with him, mixed with girls, boys. But he does have one particular training partner I mentioned earlier, Miles Brown, who does a lot of the work with him. Just to mention there, I don't know how it works with everybody else, but Chad gets no special treatment or anything. He doesn't have his own lane or anything like that. He swims in a lane with 3 or 4 other swimmers. There's no special treatment. Even now, after a gold medal, he still gets treated as one of the team. There's no special treatment for him.
Mr. Hill, how much dry land do you do, and what is it?
Okay, for Chad, he does a lot of plyometrics. He does a lot of medicine balls, stuff like that. He doesn't do any weight training. Okay, no weight training. Does stretch cords. The Hungarians taught me a lot about the stretch cords, but there's no weight training for him as yet. I just believe that what he was doing, he didn't need the weight training, and possibly, obviously, I have to change a few things now. He's a bit bigger now and older, so maybe I need to add some weights to his strength program, and we'll see how we go from there.
So how many sessions?
He does 3 sessions.
Hey, morning. One of the things that was very noticeable with Chad is his constant improvement, especially in his 200 fly from Singapore leading up to London. Was this part of the game plan, or do you think this is just part of his belief and passion that he had to improve by that much going into the Olympics?
Yeah, you know, when he won in Singapore at the Youth Olympics, he wasn't rested or shaved, like I said, or anything. You know, we were getting ready for the Commonwealth Games a month later in India. So he wasn't at his best in Singapore then, and the belief and the passion was growing as he was getting better and better. We knew we had to swim that kind of time. I actually thought we'd have to go a little bit quicker, maybe 52 mid to possibly win. And you know, the belief, like I say, as he was going on, he was improving all along, and the belief and the passion got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think it just grew with everything. And we set ourselves a target that when we were on the Mare Nostrum and still doing the work in that we would have to hit 155s all the way through. And he was hitting that spot on all the time. We did a time trial in Monaco, a 150 time trial. It was about a couple of days before we left for the village. So you could say it was about 10 days out from the meet. And we had done a 150 time trial in Singapore prior to Shanghai, where he swam 124.8 or something at the 150 mark. And we did it in Monaco, and he swam 123.5. And when he did that, when he touched, I said, "How you feel?" He says, "I feel great." I knew then he was going to, for sure, come back 29 in the last 50. I knew 152 was going to happen for sure.
Yeah, Graham, could I just ask you, you know, you mentioned like in the backup services, the physiotherapist that works with your program. Do you have other backup services that are attached to you when you've got the team away, like a physiologist or a sports scientist or nutritionist, or what other input do you have to your preparations?
Me. Yeah, that's the honest truth. You know, we don't look. We'd like to have a doctor when we travel, because you know, if everyone gets sick or whatever, we don't even travel with a doctor most of the time. And so other than that, we don't have anyone looking at the diets. I'm watching his diet. I'm controlling everything in his life. So you know, it's difficult. It's tough. It's a lot of work to do. But you know, the reason why we don't, and some of you must probably shoot me for this, and the psychologists will for sure shoot me. But you know, I don't want anyone to get into his head if nothing's broken. I mean, if it's all working and he's going well, you know, someone could come along and say something to him, and now he starts thinking about something else. So why try to work with something that's not broken, you know? So I just control it all, and the food, we just watch what he eats, and as long as he's eating good meals and not the junk. We have to watch him. I'll be honest, he does have a eating problem. When he sees food, he likes to eat. So, but I think that's all swimmers. So, but it's me basically controlling everything, other than the physio, having the rubs. we do have a sport, we have a sports scientist, but he doesn't travel with us all the time, just doing the video analysis and stuff like that. So we do have that backup.
Sorry, Graham.
Well-
I was going to ask you that same question, whether Chad follows a nutritional plan or specific diet, which you've obviously answered now.
Yeah, it's I don't think athletes, as long as you can control what they're eating, like I say, when he sees food he likes to eat, so other than that, keep them off the junk food and pretty much 3 meals a day, that's it.
Хорошо. Можно вопрос? Если вы не имеете психолога и вы сами этим занимаетесь, то какие внушения или какие слова, как вы его мотивируете перед стартом, или же снимаете то напряжение, которое есть у спортсмена перед стартом?
I can't tell you that, then you'll know everything. No, it's the relationship we have. Sometimes when people sit with us before he's going to race and they sit and listen to me talking to him, they can't believe some of the things we're talking about. So it's just such a great bond we have, and I know what makes him tick. I mean, 12 years being with him, and being with him most probably more times than his family are with him. It's just, like I said earlier in the talk, it's about the passion, the belief, and the bond we have between himself and myself. I think that's a crucial part of it. And it's kind of hard because, to form that kind of bond, if you want to have multiple athletes performing like this, it's kind of hard. I think the strain on the coach themselves is pretty tough. So it's pretty difficult to come up with 2-3 athletes like Michael Phelps or whatever. I think that same bond must exist between all those top athletes.
Just very quickly, a question was raised earlier just about the weight training. And you said you're not looking at the weight training, you're basically looking at the stretch code and things like that. And you said not as yet. So when are you looking to start the weight training, or are you not going to look at it at all?
Yeah, we will definitely look at it. We're looking at some of the other events that we're going to possibly swim. So I believe not too many weights for the longer events and that, but obviously with the shorter events, maybe I need to send him over to Marseille for a few sessions and work on his weight training for the shorter distances. But he's going pretty much okay at the moment. I mean, silver medal in the 100 fly, that's a short distance, and so I don't think I need to step up into that at this stage yet, but maybe in 2 years' time or something, maybe before Rio, introduce some weight training. His body's going to change. I mean, he's 20 now. As he gets older, his body will change, so we'll have to look at maybe doing something then. But at this stage, he's going great. He was good on the World Cups now in Doha and in Dubai, so he's got some speed there, and I don't think I need to introduce any weights yet.
All right, thanks.
Could you please tell me, how big is the percentage of swimming butterfly in training? Okay. And do you do the main sets butterfly, or you mix with freestyle or something like that?
Okay, like I said, we do a lot of medley swimming, so it's a lot of all the strokes, but there will always be butterfly. Every day there will be butterfly. We don't do crazy sets like 800 butterflies and things like that. But we do a substantial amount of butterfly. We will swim sets of 10 200s butterfly and things like that, but we won't go 5 800s butterfly with paddles and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
No more questions? Okay, Graham, thank you very much. And